who's going to talk to us about a very wonderful local enterprise growing local plants and working with local people. And here's just to tell us a lot more about it. Hopefully.
Yeah,
you're on mute. You're on mute, Joe.
It's coming up.
Yes.
Okay, can you see the screen? Jane, you need to unmute.
Hello, everybody.
Can you see the screen?
I can.
Okay, off
Great.
you go.
Here we go. Dear Green Flower Farm is based in the West End of Glasgow, and its main site is in Glasgow Botanic Gardens, which you may just recognise in that photo. It's dedicated to growing Scottish garden flowers ideal for cutting, and Scottish native flowers to better experience their beauty and to help rewild our city landscape. We're now in our 6th year as a Scottish charity and social enterprise and run entirely by volunteers. Volunteers are involved both in gardening and doing artistic things with our flowers. We're very largely self-funded through the sale of bunches of our cut flowers and creative workshops. A little bit about its genesis. I started Dear Green Flower Farm because I was and I am besotted by flowers. There were two inspirations for it really, flowers in the landscape and picking flowers from the garden. I worked as a garden designer with a small gardening practice of my own for 10 years in West Sussex and London before moving back to Glasgow in 2001. For years I longed to have a flower farm, which could have another slide. Next, thanks. Just to see masses of flowers which did not have to be in perfectly placed spaces in a design, but could be all in rows. Next slide. As in a lavender farm, or just freely growing. A great inspiration was seeing a cornfield ablaze with poppies so beautiful that it had stopped passers-by in their tracks, and all the cars were pulled up on the side of the road. Next slide. Prairie gardens are a stylized version of that effect. Or could we go back?
I don't know why it went on several ones. I don't know why it went on. Anyway, this one?
That one, that's it. That particular shot is of the Hauser and Wirth garden designed by Piet Udolf in Somerset. It's a stylized wild landscape. The other main inspiration is picking flowers from the garden. As a child, even on my mother's birthday, the flowers would come from the garden, which might seem a bit mean, but we honestly thought that they were more beautiful, less stiff and formal. And I became fascinated in flowers with scent, delicacy, and old garden favorites, which seemed to be missing in flower shops, and began to think of filling the gap by growing them on a farm. There was a big snag though, because like many in Glasgow, I didn't have a garden. Next. My allotment became a place to experiment with the best flowers for picking. What lasted well, to sell them they needed to last over 5 days, and flowers with a good stem length. As I couldn't think which part of the country to move to start a farm, and I didn't want to leave friends, I started looking for unused land around me. So Dear Green Flower Farm turned out not to be a farm out in the country, but a city farm. We have no land of our own. The farm started on gap and borrowed sites. In the early days, the flowers from my allotment just spilt out into our first plots in Glasgow's West End. A flower farm is quite unusual in a city, but it's the best place for us. We're as much about people as we are about flowers. Next. The flowers we grow are traditional Scottish garden flowers and native wildflowers, and are grown in open spaces where they can be enjoyed by the public. Some have been derelict spaces, some are neglected gardens. We want to make Glasgow bloom and beautiful. We all brighten up seeing colour and watching nature thrive. with the farm, we aim to be environmentally friendly, growing plants loved by bees and pollinators, and we use organic methods to encourage biodiversity. On the people side, our aims are educational. Next. We learn all aspects of organic gardening, sowing and propagation, planting, caring, hoeing in this case, pruning. Also what's involved in making a self-sufficient garden, i.e. making compost and leaf mold and not having to introduce things from elsewhere into the garden. We learn about Scottish garden flowers and creative things to do with them. One is how to make lovely bunches of flowers. Next. We grow our, lovely, thanks. We grow our cut flowers for sale. And since the pandemic started, we've also give away our flowers to isolated and vulnerable people, mainly through charities. That's great, David, thanks. We also, integration is another aim. It's a chance for folk to mix, and not yet, David. And
No, sorry, I just paused. The slideshow was sent to me, and it's got a timing. Someone has put a timer on it, so it times itself to change. I didn't know that.
Oh, right. What
so it's changing automatically. I didn't realise that.
Right.
So that's why I'm going back.
Okay, thanks very much.
There's a timer in it somewhere.
Right. Well, I'll say next when we want another slide.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, so it's a chance for people to mix from all backgrounds. In our first year, we had a lot of asylum seekers that we worked with, and that was really great. But we all mix, and it's nice to meet like-minded people. And the final aim is for green therapy, which we all know how valuable it is since the pandemic. It helps being outside, helps keep us sane and calm, and lots of physical and mental benefits. So we have two main sites in the West End, and our first one is, as I said, in the Botanics. Next one, thanks, David, where we grow our flowers in a rainbow shape. Our plot at the Botanics is our showpiece, where we grow mainly perennials for a permanent display through the year. It's our 4th year there now. The rainbow beds are in bands of hot colours together, and then another arch of cool colours together. It's a bit of a unique rainbow because it's back to front. So red should be on the outside, but on our rainbow, it's on the inside. Still, it's got to be different. Tulips are in the spring, and you'll see the rainbow bench on the other side of the drive. Next, David, thanks. We're just opposite the rainbow bench, and it's becoming a bit like Rainbow Hill up there. In the summer, next, thanks, David, our herbaceous border looks more like this next photo. Our other site is outside St. Charles's Church at the end of Melrose Gardens above Wilton Street. Next, thanks. It's the first site we found, and it's split by a wall. On one side is the council ground, where we've created a display for the public to enjoy. And that's this one, seen from the top. And then we've got a view from the bottom with some residents. It's great to have local residents joining in, and the aim is to hand over to them eventually, giving them support and guidance where they need. Then on the other side of the wall, thanks, David, you've got a space which the flower farm uses as a picking patch. Here we grow wilder plants that like room to spread. So things like honesty, which you've got in the foreground, sweet rocket, lady's mantle, mint. Last year for Christmas, we made these huge honesty stems into honesty trees. We are at a major turning point because we are just adapting to having lost 2 sites at the beginning of the year. And this is just to give you a wee glimpse of them. Next, David, thanks. We set up St. Columba's in Mary Hill for growing all our annuals, and we had a greenhouse to raise them and the dahlias. Next, thanks, David. We grew our spring bulbs there too. So last of which we've got Amy here, and the next slide we've got cornflower. We also planted lots of spring bulbs. Last autumn, we planted over 1,000 tulips and daffodils. Next, David, thanks. The gardens were spread, and in the spring, they looked like this. Next, thanks. So the gardens were spread over a wide area to the side and the rear of the church and provided us with most of our volunteering potential. So it's been quite a big loss, actually, losing that one. The other site that we lost this year was our wildflower patch, which is a bit of a secret down Belmont Lane. This is the next slide, thanks. It was the result of guerrilla gardening, and it was just a bit of fun helping to make Glasgow blooming beautiful. We get very attached to our sites. They begin to feel like our gardens, and it's been heartbreaking to leave St Columba's in particular, where we worked so hard over the lockdown. But gardens and nature are ephemeral, and having had the joy of making these infertile spots reap plentiful harvests, it's just one of those things we have to move on. A surprising amount of flowers come out of these gardens, and with them we bunch. Next, thanks, David. This is where the creative ones amongst us get busy. We're lucky to have our plot just opposite a beech tree where we often gather in the botanics to bunch. Last year we had 2 teams, experienced bunchers making them up plant for bunches for sale, and people who are learning making up bunches to give away to charity. Refugee G20, a couple of them. We run bunching workshops for the public, and also aspire to a series of seasonal wreath making workshops. We ran a workshop for making head garlands in the Kibble Palace. Next, thanks, David. And here's one of our volunteers sporting a head garland that she just made. Next one, David. Thanks. Quite Caribbean look. During the pandemic, we started Zooming workshops for our volunteers. The first was for making Easter decorations. The sales of our flowers are reinvested in the enterprise. We're entirely self-funded to date. Our main outlet last year for bunches was Hoos in Great Western Road, which you've probably noticed in that. There we are, and there's Karen who runs it. And she sells all our bunches without taking any commission because she likes the ethos of the farm. So the main thing about Dear Green Flower Farm is all of us having fun. Next, David, thanks. All experienced and novices. We're all learning as we have a go. That's Sophie and Abby on the leaf mold pile. So the flower farm evolves, new plots, new people. 3 times we've had to start again on new plots. This was the first site we had at the Botanics, which we had for a year, just given to us as a temporary home because we'd lost our very first site. And on the strength of what we made of it, they gave us our permanent home at the Botanics. Each year, there we are, that's it. Each year, the mix of volunteers gives a particular flavour. In our first year, as I said, we had a lot of asylum seekers and Glaswegians together. It was a lovely mix. Then we had a year with many young families. Then we had a year with a lot of international students. And now it seems to be loyal local residents and students mixing together. So that's what we get up to, or what we got up to. But as I said, we're at a major turning point now, having lost 2 sites. And we're facing the conundrum of less land, but more volunteer interest than ever. So we had 47 last year and got a lot of eager students. And amongst our bunchers, we've lost one key buncher who, with long COVID, and another got a job, luckily thanks to experience she got with the flower farm, which is good news. So we're thinking what to do, and rather than growing in size, we've decided to have a rest year, pause and reassess and scale down, be a mini flower farm. So we're focusing on making our 2 sites better. We've cut our volunteer base to a simple core of gardeners in teams for specific mornings or afternoons. We've completely stopped making bunches for sale, and this is cutting our administration, which is really great. I appreciate that. But remembering our first inspirations, One of them was flowers from the garden. Next, David, thanks. There we are, yeah. The last people to take home flowers were the volunteers. We've never actually taken bunches of flowers home. So this year we're giving flowers away to the charities still, but we're for the first time picking them for ourselves. And then the other inspiration was flowers in the landscape. Next, David, thanks. As our aim is to help make Glasgow blooming beautiful. We were planning to collaborate with the council on developing flowery verges in collaboration perhaps with Plant Life. But instead we're going for collaborating with our neighbours, giving plants away and helping to plant oxeye daisies to flower this year. That's just done at the end of my street actually. So flowers from the garden and round about where we live seems to be the way forward for us. Something like the St. Charles model is much more manageable. It's local and it's connecting the community. We're finding in lots of ways that Mini Flower Farm does suit us. And we're wondering whether this could be a model for others. Our student volunteers are very eager, but we just haven't been able to give them the gardening this year. But we're discussing with Glasgow University whether they could give students land to organise their own flower farm society, independent but affiliated to us. So our role would be to advise and assist, but not to manage, and they could make of it what they wanted. So possibility, could there be an association of flower farms, rather like a Glasgow Allotments Forum, an affiliation of flower farmers? Would you like to get something going in your part of Glasgow to make it more biodiverse or more bloom and beautiful? There's plenty of disused or underused land if you look about to help flower the landscape. Next, thanks, David. One of our students lives near the old Hindland Railway by the station park. We're exploring the opportunity of helping to introduce more wildflower planting in this area. And this is another site just very close by. It's off Nova Drive, which seems to be begging for a whole line of a wildflower strip or perhaps something underneath the trees. But rather than leaving it to the council, we're hoping to stimulate interest amongst local residents and see if we could get something going there, or they could get something going. So we still dream of a flower farm home in the West End. It might be something like a walled garden with a central field for growing surrounded by wilder spaces for natural planting. Perhaps it'd have a storehouse for keeping flowers cool, a clubhouse for cloakrooms and workspace, holding workshops, maybe a tea room, a shop, all generating income. Well, actually, it exists. We know exactly where it is. This is Old Corona Bowling Club in St. Vincent Crescent. We may have to wait a few more years for it, as it's been sold to developers for building flats, but local residents are fighting it and have formed a charity to organise a community buyout. I'm wondering whether this could be a hub for all the little flower farms popping up around Glasgow, where we all go to learn aspects of gardening, enjoy picking, do workshops and socialise. To get there from here needs a lot of enthusiastic collaboration, but maybe with an eruption of dear green flower farmers on their own local sites, we could all be doing what we can for a far more blooming, beautiful Glasgow. So thank you for letting me share these ideas. I'd love to hear what you think. That's our sign. It's too microscopic to probably see the email address and the Instagram and Facebook, but Instagram and Facebook are just Dear Green Flower Farm, and you could get in touch with us that way. But we would love to hear your ideas.
Well, thank you very much, Jane. Has anyone got any questions to Jane? And as she said, if you want to get in contact to help some of these projects move forward, she'd love to hear from you. So any questions for Jane just now?
Yeah,
Robert, yes.
Unmute yourself if you want to ask a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I've got to say that was really inspirational. I thoroughly enjoyed that. You made me emotional there.
Oh,
It's unusual, but anyway. I can't even speak now. Yeah, sorry, I'm on the Friends of Victoria Park, and we'll be talking a wee bit more about it later, but we have a plan, and on the plan is certainly wildflowers. And I've been looking for an opportunity to put into place a wildflower zone, whatever you want to call it. And I think what you've just been saying is fantastic. You know, if we could link up with you guys, it would just be brilliant. I certainly want to get involved myself with it. It's just to make that point to you rather than anything else. And, you know, just, I think what I'm trying to get across to everybody actually is the enthusiasm. I think that was just fantastic. I mean, I know these places, I go into the botanics regularly, you know, and I see your wildflower. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, so it's really, rather than a question, it's really, we'll have to link up. Thanks very much.
Yeah, we definitely will. Anybody else want to ask Jane a question before we move on? No? Well, that's really, well, what I'm going to suggest, David, is if we try Susan again, because you actually have her presentation on your system, don't you?
Well, I've got several PowerPoints that were sent. I just need to know which one is. But Susan, can you make yours work?
Can I try?
Yeah, okay, please do.
Okay, I'm going to try sharing my screen now.
Excellent, excellent. Yay!
Can we see that?
We can see that?
yep.
Brilliant.
Okay, slideshow. Begin. Okay, is this all right now? Have you got the first thing up? Yeah, okay, good, David. All right, so I thought because it's this time of year that I would talk a bit about nests, because everybody is seeing nests. The birds are all busy. The most obvious ones, I think, are the ones that are on the water because you can see them. So I'm going to talk mostly about the ones on the water, then I'll just go gently through the others. But let's start with the coots. Now this year, we have actually got 6 coot nests on the main pond, which I think is unprecedented. I've never seen so many on the main pond. And today I was in the park and there are actually chicks on 3 of them, and the other 3 are sitting. So we may have a glut of coots, which would be fine. They didn't manage at all last year. They just didn't manage. I'd like to point out that the ones that nest on the pond are the coots, the swans, the moorhens, the little grebes, and the mallards. Now, the thing about water birds is they need to spend a lot more time in the egg than other birds, because when they're hatched, they immediately need to be able to swim. And in the case of swans and mallards, they even need to be able to feed themselves, because if you think of the shape of a swan's beak, that is not adapted to stuffing food into a cygnet's mouth. Swans and ducks don't feed their babies. They teach their babies to feed. But if you think of the coot and the moorhen and the little grebe, they've got that pointy beak, and they can stuff fish and other things down. So that's why the swan has an incubation period of 35 to 41 days, and that's that's a long time to be in the egg. And the coot also needs, the mallard needs 28 days, because they just need to have their babies up and running as soon as they hit the ground, so to speak, the water. Right, so I'm just going to show you the swan. That for the past 2 years, there's been a dominant pair of swans on the main pond. And unfortunately, we lost the male to a dog accident, which was very, very sad. Now, the thing is, even if we hadn't lost him, the nest on the right is where they've been nesting for the past 2 years, and it's just not a safe nest. It's accessible to foxes, and I am 99% sure that it's foxes that got them. So on the left-hand side is where they used to nest, where they had successfully 3, 5, and 8 one year. I wish they would go back there, but no, they don't learn. So unfortunately, I don't think, unless the pair that are nesting in the duck pond, there's a pair in there, they may well I don't know if they can, but that would be nice. So to move on, this is sort of everybody's favorite, the little grebes or dabchigs. Now these little guys are just tireless. They start nesting, they start building a nest in March, and somebody will tear it to pieces, like a coot or something. Then they'll build another one and they'll lay eggs, and something will get the eggs, whether it's a rat, I don't know. So what happens is we have to be patient and we have to let these little guys do their work. By the time it comes to July, it comes to the time when the coots are not quite as vicious because their babies are older. So they won't be quite as rambunctious and combative against the little grebes. It was such a sad post. I don't know if you all saw it. A lady said she'd seen a coot tearing their nest to bits, which is really sad. It's really sad, but it's nature. Anyway, so that's the little grebes. And here, now, this is a mallard, but it's not on a mallard nest because I have never seen a mallard nest. The only thing that a female mallard can do is to be as secret as possible, because she, of all the water birds, she is on her own. She doesn't get any help from the male. Once the male has done his egg duty, he's off. So a female duck has to just keep herself as quiet as she possibly can, and then suddenly she emerges. Once last year, there were 18 little ducklings that came out. We just didn't know where they don't know where they came from. So this is her once she's got them. Anyway, that's the water birds, which I think are the most visible. Now I'm going to be a lot less detailed about the others. If we think about our little songbirds, robins and wrens and moorhens even, they like to nest in trees. Robins and wrens will use holes if they can. Well, robins will. Wrens like to build several nests. But I've been noticing one in the fossil grove behind David there. There'll be holes in that wall, and that's where there's great tits and everything. I've got a beautiful one to show you. Now, I am so thrilled with this. I wanted to see a long-tailed tit's nest for years, and this year a very nice birder in the park went out to me. I've put the description of it up because I just think it's phenomenal. 6,000 pieces go into making this nest. And I've even heard that they gather the spider webs in the morning when there's dew on it, because then it's elastic. Because then when they build the nest and the babies get bigger, the nest can actually expand like elastic. It's amazing. So that's the long-tailed tits. What else have we got? Oh, we move on to birds that are sort of holes. Here's a bird-made hole. There have been some wonderful photos of this put up on the website. I suppose people have seen them. They're just amazing photos, absolutely lovely photos. And then there's one of the many nest boxes in the park. It just occurs to me that we have a lot of bats in the park as well. Now, I haven't said anything about bats, but if you go just after twilight, there's a very good colony of bats in the park, which is a good sign. Okay, where are we now? We're getting on. Ah, yes. Now, this is missel thrush. They like to nest up in the forks of trees and on branches. And I was quite surprised when I was looking up missel thrush that in Great Britain as a whole, they're actually on the red list. They're not doing well. Whereas in the park, we've got a thriving population of them. And that makes me think, this park was established in 1887. I think I'm right in that. I think that's correct. And ever since then, it's been this oasis in Glasgow, even through all the time with the terrible air quality. The park has been a place that birds can, I mean, there must be hundreds of generations of these birds that have nested in the park. I think that's a lovely thought, that our park is home to such a long line of birds. I think that's great. Right, moving on. Yeah, this is a bit cursory because I haven't got any pictures of these. Crows are right up at the top. I know there are crows in the fossil grove at the very top. Magpies are interesting because they like to be quite high up, but they will build on last year's nest or 2 years ago's nest. So in the end, you might get a nest that's maybe 3-4 feet high, but of course they only use the top story. So magpies are quite fun. Sparrowhawks are very secretive, so we hope we've got them. Okay, so these are two. These are just my excuse to put up nice pictures of a crow and a magpie. They like to nest up high. And I like to say corvids because at the beginning of the pandemic, I couldn't see COVID. I always saw corvid. When I saw corvid-19, I always thought it was corvid-19. That's what a birder does. Okay, now this moves me on to my next part. This is the heron's nest. Now, the second part of my presentation is a bit sad because we did lose Grey Heron last week. He's the patriarch, he's the daddy of all the herons in the park. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, start my other one and that one. And now I'm going to find something else. I can do this. Yes. Okay. So Grey Heron. This photo on the left is dated the 29th of December, 2010. Now, you may all remember that year when it was really, really cold. The pond was frozen for maybe 6 weeks. And this forlorn, young, lonely looking, hungry looking heron turned up on the ice and just sat there. And there were several of us who and it's just as well we did because it's statistically the norm that in the first year a lot of herons don't make it if it's a very hard winter, because a heron, it needs open water to hunt, and if you're not experienced and don't realize you've got to go down to the Clyde or you've got to go out to the sea where the water's open, if you don't have that experience, you'll just starve in the first winter. So I was very happy that he would take food. And then one day I was thrilled because I came in the red gates at the top and the bird actually flew out onto the grass, not close to me, but obviously had recognized me. And I was thrilled. I couldn't believe that he would actually recognize me. But that was the start of 10 years of a lovely relationship with this bird. In the summer, I used to sit, once he'd had his fish, I used to take him fish. He would sit beside me, and if it was a warm day, he would just open his wings on himself and do some preening. And he's just the most beautiful bird. I'm so sorry that he's gone. Anyway, I'll keep on. This is just a big excuse for me to remember him by showing you some of my favorite shots of him. He loved to sit up on the statue. That was his place. He could see us coming. He could see if I came in from the Fossil Grove end, he knew, and he would fly down before I had even seen him. He would be flying down to meet me. And didn't matter which gate I came in. If I came in the east gate, he would know. If I came in the west, they just are so clever, these birds. So there he is. Now that is the orange is the reflection of the library building. That's what that orange is, but it's just so pretty. He spent a lot of time preening. Let's see, there he is on top. He'd just been buzzed by a gull. That's why his crest is up, because that's what they do. They raise their crest to look fierce. That's what I like. Here he is. That's one of my favorite pictures. That was an October day. There he is again. That was just taken last month. It's so sad. I'm very sad that he's gone. Anyway, I'm just happy that we had this beautiful time. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This is the nest that I showed you. 2 years ago, after what was it, 7 years, 8 years of him being away at nesting time and nesting elsewhere, he decided he would nest in the park, and he brought a female along with him. I don't know who she was. She was not a tame bird at all. She was very wild, and I never got to know her any better. But this is an interesting, that's her on the bottom. If you can you see the orange and the blue? That is Gray's bill. And the reason it is orange and blue is because his hormones are up. That happens for maybe 10 days, 2 weeks in breeding season, and that means he's ready to mate. So I love that photo because it shows her normal, just a sort of yellow beak, and he's got these almost like face paint. So that meant he was really ready to mate. So I was away for a bit. When I came back, here were these prehistoric monsters in the nest. They looked absolutely crazy. It was just mad. This is what they looked like later. They are such beautiful birds, really. And the noise they made, you may remember that, people who were watching them. The noise they made was amazing. Now, the nest that they built must have been 3 or 4 feet across, because these birds are adult size, and they were all over the nest. The nest really stood up well, and it's, even though it's 2 years on, the nest is still there, so they are good builders. Here they are again. I'm just going to go through this fairly quickly because I know I love herons, but I know people may get enough photos of herons. Anyway, I think they're beautiful birds. You can see how different they look from adults, though. They're very gray and white, and they don't have any of that black and white that the plumes that the adults do. Here we are down on the pond. Now, what happened was the mum, the female, left. She left before they even left the nest, before they fledged. And so Gray was left with the responsibility of feeding all these 3 ravening savages, because they were absolutely savage. So what happens was he would go and fill his crop with fish or whatever he got, baby birds, anything, and he would come back and he would, let me see if they would grab him unmercifully. They just absolutely grabbed him viciously, and they would pull him down, and I think you can see a little bit of fish coming out of his mouth there. So by doing that, they stimulated him to regurgitate up the fish that he'd got for them. So there's the 3 of them. I can't tell them apart. Gray was the only one that I was absolutely sure of, because he had beautiful breast plumes, and he had a specific marking on his head that, and also because he knew me. But I can't tell these apart. There are 3 of them now, but I think we've got 6 or 7 herons in the park, even with the loss of Gray. So I don't know where they're. Here they're pretending to be chickens, I think. That's the 3 of them, and this is the 3 of them with Gray in the background. You can see that little V there. That little V is how that's his specific head marking. That's how I knew him, and also from his breast plumes. So that's the 3 of them, and they've been following him around pretty much for the last years now, and that's him blessing us all. That's the end. I'm really sorry. I'm so happy that I knew him, and I feel enriched by having known this bird, and I'm very sorry he's gone, but I can't be sad because it was just such a wonderful experience. Anyway, let me just say, if you're interested in watching the hooligans eat, you could look on my YouTube channel, and you'll find a lot of bird videos. So I just put that up in case you ever wanted to look. It's just Susan D. Harris on YouTube, and then, the ones about cygnets. I think I told Robert Mellish this. There's 1,086,507 views of that one of the swans. I don't know how that happened. I didn't mean it to happen. It just did.
Well done.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, that's me. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that, Susan. That was really fascinating, especially the stuff about Gray. Very much missed. Much loved bird. Any questions people want to ask Susan before we move on? Just a couple, because we've got a few things to get in.
Can I just ask a very quick one, Susan? Do we know the 3, the male, female? Do we know?
No.
Oh, we don't know yet. No.
You can't tell with herons. The only reason I knew about Gray is because I saw him on top on the nest.
All right. Okay.
Native.
Okay.
You can't tell. I thought for years that he was female. You can't tell. There's no difference, really.
Okay. Thank you.
So, okay, that beak colour then, is that unique to the male when they're, because the hormone thing? Or do they both get it when they're ready?
I think it is. I think maybe the female can have it a bit as well, but I think it's definitely the male that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for wondering.
Any other questions for Susan before we move on? Robert?
Can I have a quick
Oh,
question?
Dee, yes, another bird from our park.
May I have a quick question about the coots nests? Because I was looking at all the extra ones on the big pond, and have they been sort of helped by humans with supermarket trolleys as a base, or have the coots managed to build them themselves all the way from the bottom?
I think what happens is they do find a log or something that's sticking up slightly, because it's not a total floating nest the way the grebes do.
Mm-hmm.
It is on something. So there will be a log or you're right, maybe a trolley or something. Yes, that's.
But there hasn't been human intervention particularly to help them.
No. They don't seem to need it on our pond.
Well, it was about 10 years ago when I saw the first nests, and I thought
That was against the mooring post of the
Yeah.
the rowboats.
Yeah.
That's what that
Yeah.
was.
yeah. I suppose I assumed, being a birder, I thought, oh, maybe that's nice. Somebody had the idea of helping them, and they built from that. But I mean, that enormous one at the East End, I mean, that just getting bigger and bigger.
That's crazy. Yeah. Last year I was really worried because they actually they had babies on that nest, but
Yeah.
the nest was so high that the babies have to get off and back up again. There's no way they couldn't do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did assume there was human intervention, but that's
No, I don't think
no,
so.
there isn't. Great.
Only insofar as maybe somebody threw some rubbish in. That's all I can say. If you can call that intervention. Anyway.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Thank you.
Okay, let's see.
Lovely talk, Susan. Thank you.
Very quickly, wants to. I think we'll need to be. Oh, Robert, you do, yeah.
Yeah, it was just quickly. Are they nesting? Somebody asked the question. Are they nesting this year? Do you know the herons?
No. In fact, nobody showed it. Last year, there was a pair that were trying, but they didn't ever lay eggs. They were building and they were mating, but I think they must have been very young and they didn't succeed in laying. But this year, there's been no interest in the nest at all. Not to say there wouldn't be in the future, there might be, because they do quite often come back to the same nest. It could be.
So we live in hope. We live in hope. Okay, well then, perhaps I think we'll move on to David. Forget about the Stop Climate Chaos thing. Is that all right with you, David?
Yeah.
To move on to your presentation.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it fine. See absolutely fine.
Okay, well, I'll rattle through this fairly quickly because we're getting on with time, yeah? Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Fossil Grove building mainly, and then I'm going to talk about the fernery program. The Fossil Grove Trust exists for a number of years now, and we've got some money together, and we're in lieu of the council, who have not spending any money on repairs at the moment. We have spent about £25,000 on repairs to the roof and the drains and the lighting. This is the new lighting that was done last year. The taping is to keep the electricians' big tackety boots off the fossils. So we put new lights in the building for the visitors, which we now haven't had, but nevertheless, when we kept people back in, the lighting is now better. The roof, this is a year or so ago, we had the roof steam cleaned and repaired. This is when it was clean. We had some vents put into the roof because it's a damp cave in there and it needs ventilation. And we've also done a lot of work with the drains and the gutters. Oh, go back one, just go back one here. Yeah, this was us doing drain tests and trying to fix the gutters, testing all these downpipes. All the downpipes on the west side lead into the pond, and they were all blocked, and so that all the water was leaking into the building. We've now done some repairs to the roof seals as well. This seal along here, this was earlier this year. We got the contractors in to fix this. It was leaking badly onto the fossils. So this is what it was like a few years ago. It was very damp. A lot of water was pooling up around the fossils here from the leaks in the drains. The condensation and humidity gets so high that it drips off the beams onto the floor and deposits salts, which is corroding and damaging the fossils. We fixed all that a little bit, and that's better now. And you can see that these drip lines have gone in this picture here, but there was still roof leak drops coming from the roof leaks. And at the moment, it's much drier. So we've gone from a sort of disaster to sort of stable conditions at the moment, and the place is a lot drier. We measure the humidity. We have 4 humidity monitors which transmit humidity data to my laptop. And you can see here, this is the humidity for this last month of the month of April. You can see that we are getting reductions in humidity as a result of the vents in the roof. So it's an improvement. It is money well spent. It is sort of patching the place up just to try and keep it stable and preserve the fossils. So what's the future of the building? It's largely owned. I know there's some debate about what the actual technical ownership is, whether it was gifted from the Oswald family but anyway, the City Council manage it, own it. We are, as the trust, having ongoing discussions at the moment about transferring or leasing the building to the trust. and we've got quite ambitious plans to renovate the building, but it, as you say, it all takes time and money. And we might set up a new sort of constitution and a new format of the trust to progress all of this stuff. And we've got a bid in at the moment with the Architectural Heritage Fund, with a decision expected next month on a new building condition survey and feasibility study to try and get sort of structural and technical and professional ideas about what can be done with the existing building to make it accessible, visible, and conserve the fossils for the future and for the community. People have asked about whether the building will be opened. The council are not going to open the building. They used to open it on Saturdays and Sundays from Easter, October, but they've notified us that they don't have the resources to open the building this year, kind of expected. The trust are trying to get together with a few other groups, the Geological Society, conservation groups, the university and friends, about opening the building on selected days, and we'll post that when we get that organised and COVID is hopefully away with us. We'll start trying to do some volunteer events. It's a small enclosed indoor venue, and it's going to be run by volunteers, so we don't want any COVID risk. So we're looking at when we got a COVID level of about 0 is when we start thinking about it. So we're thinking probably once a month on a Sunday, probably in July to October. So a few events on a Sunday which we'll advertise. That seems to be the way we're thinking, that we'll keep people informed. And we now have the notice board outside the building is a key, because we now I have a key for the building for that. I have a key for the building, and I have a key for this notice board, and we'll post things on there as well as on the social media sites. So some of that information I've just talked about is on that notice board. So that's where to see what's going on. I'll just quickly rattle through some slides about the Fernery project and the work that some of us have been doing over the winter as well. As you know, the Fernery project started a few years ago with sort of clearance by the council of some of the major overgrowing vegetation and the provision of the bridge. And that was a couple of years ago. And we started planting ferns. This is last year, planting ferns and clearing out the pond. Sorry?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realise I wasn't muted. It was the year before last.
Yes, sure.
No, 2019.
Sorry, yes, this is this year. This is this winter where we were digging over the beds, and the grass, the green is just beginning to start. So this is where we are right now with trying to get new planting for these beds here and in the areas that have been trampled over. We also did some work clearing out the pond each Saturday, putting up notices to keep people from taking in frog spawn. That seemed to work quite well. The notices were well read. We have bought some flag iris to plant to try and change the vegetation from this reedy, weedy stuff that's growing to some flag iris. And we've been planting ferns in some of these trampled areas. Well, that's the plan, is to try and sort of keep the people into sort of corridors. We can't expect the kids and things to not climb around there, but we're hoping that we can concentrate them into certain sort of honey spot areas that we know they're going to climb, and try and get vegetation to grow in the other bits, so it doesn't just become a barren wilderness. We've done a lot of litter picking. You've seen these pictures on Facebook of all the litter picking we've been doing in the park on the Saturdays, on the Saturday working groups. And we've been doing some remedial work where people seem to be quarrying out the rock. We don't know what's happening, but there seem to be a lot of people just digging out the rock and making a real mess. So we've tried to restore some of that. And in fact, it was on this day when we were looking at the stuff around here that we saw the woodpeckers in the trees, and that's when Jim started taking his pictures of the beautiful woodpecker pictures. When we saw Jim, we said, "Yeah, look, there's woodpecker up there." He said, "Oh, great." So that was good. We also had issues with the Swan Gate, and we can perhaps discuss that a little bit later as well, with this gate that's missing. But if it closes completely, the swans can't get out. But if you leave it open, dogs can get in. So it's a big dilemma. We put some notices up, and we put some tie wraps and the old gate back in. The notices seem to have gone. The tie wrap seems to have broken again. And the cone was removed again. So we're not quite sure what is the best plan for the Swan Gate here. The 2021 program for the Fernery is the Fossil Grove Trust have given some money to friends to buy phase 3 of the ferns, and we're getting delivery at the end of June. Michael confirmed that in the earlier talk, saying that. So we will have ferns ready for planting at the end of June. We're also going to do some interpretation panels so that people can identify some of the species, and we'll have some geological stuff about the fossil grove as well on these panels, but we're working on that. We're trying to get these ferns bought and arriving in Glasgow in time to plant them. So we've been working up sort of working parties on the first Saturday of the month at 10 o'clock, 10 to 12-ish on the Saturday, first Saturday of the month. So we'll have one on the 5th of June, which will be mainly sort of weed clearing and preparing the grounds for the ferns, which will arrive at the end of June, fingers crossed. And on the 3rd of July, i.e. the first Saturday of July, we will have a sort of big planting day. All going well. Okay, so that's me.
Thank you very much, David, for that. Very interesting, highlighting the improved condition of the fossils and the work you've done there. So, before we go towards the formal AGM, I'll just say a bit about our update plans for the year. David's talked a lot about the ferry project, so I'm not recovering that. And I've mentioned the Volunteer Day, 5th of June. I hope as many of you can turn up for that. We have to say our last Volunteer Day, we diversified slightly from a pretty exclusive focus, if you like, on the ferns at that point, because we could do, because of the change in COVID rules, we could have more people, etc. So we had to continue with that. And we had a party of people working by the ponds, doing some hoeing, and also some work in the nature area. So we hope to develop all that and develop various areas of work in the park as we go along. We have an action plan, which we hope all our members can be part of developing. So to talk of sharing that with members, I think that's a good idea, so we can all have input to that. So that, we'll move forward on that. We also have plans to exist on our Drina Bees, returning to kind of COP26 environment kind of focus of the AGM. They need help by clearing as much mulch from the beds as we can where they breed. And our treasurer, Gail, as part of our pandemic commemoration project, specifically chose willows to be planted because of their bee-friendly qualities. And much thanks to our member Scott Donaldson for his advice on species. I believe the goat willow, sometimes known as Kilmarnock willow, is one of the best for our bees. So, the project ties together to the bigger environment of the park. Also, our Cocavina and our member Richard East have been very concerned with our heritage trees in Glasgow. I'll quickly race through. They've been doing a lot of work. I'd like to spend more time on that, but as David points out, time is moving on. Many of our trees in Glasgow, our heritage trees, are now over 100 years old. Certainly the ones in the avenues around us are, and the ones in the park, they've been planted when the park was established, around about that, which has been 1877. So well over 100 years, 1887. So well over 100 years old by now. So what we want our council to do is take seriously what they are going to do. We need to have a Glasgow City Council-wide plan for our civic trees in our parks, and we want to work with our councillors to try and take this forward. Part of what we want to do is get a tree audit, which I think we could possibly raise funds to do. We also have plans for another Doors Open Day. Last year we did it virtually, we had to. This year we hope to do a combined one, just in case possibly the rules change, but also we want to do a real physical one because it's better for people. It's more of an experience, really, isn't it, to walk around the park and experience it physically. David Webster will also do one in the Fossil Grove area. He did one last year as well, not part of the Doors Open Day, but around that time. So he'll be doing that again this year. And we will, of course, hold our usual Remembrance Day Sunday event. And we hope to use our PA, thanks to the council for the grant for that, £500. So that will actually be seen in action for the first time in support of Whiteinch Library, very much a cause which many of our members, including myself, are behind. So obviously our actions will be governed by regulations around this time. I think I've pretty much covered everything I want to do before going into the formal AGM. But I would like to say that, there's a protest on Saturday. So poetry protest, so if you are passing, because we may not want to organise to arrange more than 6, for the Whiteinch Library. So if you go to Whiteinch Library, if you're passing and stop, there'll be things happening there with our PA being used. And I mean, I have to say I came from a very large family, and the library was very important for me to study, and I'm sure that's true of a lot of people in our neighbourhood. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the immediate future for our society, what we're doing for engagement and actions. So we'll move on now to the formal AGM. We could have a break if people wanted, but that's up to you. I'll take the feeling of the attendees on that. Okay, let's just roll on. So the first action we need to do formally is the 2020 minutes, which I hope you all got. If you don't, re-email us at the society mailbox and we'll send them to you again. But for those who did receive them, are people happy with them? Because we'll need a proposer and seconder. Anyone to propose our minutes? You have to unmute yourself.
Michael, I'll propose it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we need a seconder. Somebody was there last year, would help.
I'll
Okay, brilliant.
Happy to second.
Okay, fine. That's excellent. So that's so approved. That was scary. Anyway. I don't know if you strictly can approve your own minutes. Maybe you can. I think Susan was approving as well. So 30, okay. We're well covered. So I'll now try to share the screen again. Hopefully this will work more effectively this time and get into a convener's report. Great. Can everyone see that? Picture of our AGM poster?
Yep.
Yeah, Susan's nodding. Brilliant. Excellent. We're cooking with gas. Okay, so the next thing you're going to see is our agenda, which I hope you all got. I hope you all got that in the emails we sent ahead of the agenda. Apologies, Macho, for the loss of our Stop Climate Chaos video. That's my fault. I could say it's because I'm having a static attack, but that would just be to make excuses. Anyway, moving on, we had, going over last year, our society year, we had a very well-attended planting event on 28th of August last year, where we put another batch of ferns in the ground. And we've continued with necessarily constrained activities in the fernery, and David's covered a lot of that previously. Happily, with the easing restrictions, we were happy to have an event that all members could participate in on the 1st of May, and I've talked about the 5th of June, further details to follow. And I thank all those who were able to participate in our virtual Doors Open Day event. There we are, Doors Open Day. See our wonderful park gates, as they were originally on Balshagre Drive, and as they are now on Victoria Park Drive North. So we'll be doing that again this year. But last year it was just as well attended virtually as it had been previously physically. We had about 24 people, slightly more actually, on the webinar, and I'm not sure how many actually clicked on the video, but a lot, I was told by the organisers. And David also devised a virtual tour of the fossil grave on the 21st of September, which was very successful. I'm sure he could update you on figures should you wish to know. We posted our Remembrance Day Sunday wreath laying on our Facebook. I hope you can watch that, and it's actually still available if you want to scroll down. And this is our wreath being laid this year on my baldy head at the cenotaph. As I say, this year we hope to go live again. And also, even with COVID restrictions, we found a way to decorate our tree. There we are. That's one of the ducks.
Little bit of assistance.
Yeah, from the ducks.
Riding that.
Yeah. And the amount of decorations on the tree, I don't know, people passed that there are pictures on our Facebook. It just grew and grew. So that's great that people just joined in and put their decorations up. And we'll do something, well, hopefully we'll have carol singing again and mince pies as we used to this year. So at Easter, unable to hold our usual egg rolling events, which we've been holding for a few years, we've got together with the local schools, and I'm really quite excited about this because we got a good response from Scotstoun Primary School, Whitehitch Primary School, and the nursery. Yeah, St Paul's Primary School and the nursery, and the kids they seem to have really enjoyed it. So in a way, although we couldn't do it as we usually do, it turned out to be something really quite special. And Scotstoun Primary School, they turned it into a STEM event, designing an Easter egg. And they then linked up with Glasgow Caledonia. Perhaps our treasurer can tell us about how that developed.
Yeah, I actually worked for Glasgow Caledonian University, so when I got the Easter pictures from Scotsman Primary School to say the kids had designed an Easter egg through the STEM system, I kind of put the two together, and now Scotsman Primary School are assisting at an event run by Glasgow Caledonian University. So that was quite nice to combine my working and my non-working life sort of combined together very positively. So that was good. So I'm looking forward to seeing the results.
I think it's great for the kids to see a path forward of the STEM subjects from right at the start. Who knows what little scientists and engineers, mathematicians might have their enthusiasm kicked off by.
Yay, Scotsman Primary! Yay, Scotsman Primary!
Exactly.
No, I've got a great new headmistress. She's very, very keen on community engagement.
And also we discovered the St Paul's one with Friends Victoria Park on sort of what they should be planting and things.
That's
so
right.
again, the whole Easter thing just kind of filled everything together.
Yeah, which is absolutely brilliant. And anyway, we want to continue our positive engagement with our societies that have an interest in the park. And part of the way we do this through VPCT. And then we have Maisie McRae, our Secretary of VPCT there on the restored pirate ship. Thanks very much for the help from BAE there, but very much the organisational powers of Maisie. And it's looking wonderful, and it was looking very sad and decayed, and there it is in its prime there.
And am I allowed my wee 2 minutes of fame? Susan, you'll like this. The photograph on the right was my favourite photograph. Crows where they should be. On the crow's nest.
Crow's nest, yeah.
I was quite pleased with that one, if I say so myself. Sorry people.
Yeah. I'd like to thank our co-convener, who unfortunately can't be here tonight due to family reasons, for all her work on VPCT and the necessary documents, memorandums of understanding, and go as well on the park plan. So hopefully this will be a vehicle for bringing park organisations together in a very positive way. Right. On another note, positively, our council have fulfilled their promise, which they gave last year, to repair the bridges. And, they also repaired the Oswald clock. So through our society, I perhaps should have said this earlier, it's a way that you can give your voice power, because they seem to listen to us as a society. We say, our members are quite annoyed that the clock face, or are concerned that the clock face is broken, etc. We can get in touch with the council, and they do seem to respond. So I think that's good, and they seem to listen to that kind of society more than perhaps a lone voice. Although please speak to them yourself, because sometimes the more complaints or concerns that are raised about the same issue, the more likely action is to follow from that. So moving on, there's still a lot of work to be done. I have a picture here just for the Curling Club Pavilion, which is in a very sad state. And Pat, if he's still with us, will confirm this. It used to look so wonderful. It used to be where we ended our Doors Open Day events. I have a notion, I'm sure others have some as well, to bring this back into use. And the reason I put this is as part of a cycle hub, perhaps. I've been communicating with some parties to try and perhaps bring this to fruition, but we'd like to bring it back to life in some way. The reason I'm mentioning this is because that connects to our transport, and perhaps the greening of our transport and going about life in a different way and connecting our park with it. I mean, there are paths around the Arboretum, etc., that can perhaps be developed and really integrate our park more and make more of it in a positive way. So that's why we need you, our members, to contribute as you do, and especially some of our committee members. So I hope all of you have not already done so, and if I've not mentioned this in the confusion so far, I apologise. Join or rejoin if you're not already members. And I'm very pleased that you can now do this online. It's very easy for you on the Facebook or the website. We have now had over 20 new and renewed members via this route since it was recently activated in April. So I'm now going to hand you over to Gail, our treasurer, who's going to tell you even more about why this is important and what we've done with our funds and etc. Our financial expert, Gail. So I'm going to stop sharing now and hand you over to Gail.
Well, I think boringly, I don't have any slides to back up my treasurer's report. You'll be pleased to hear, I think. So that was it. But no, nearly everything else has been covered. Just a case of that you may all now have had a chance to look at the financial statements that were sent round before the meeting. And whilst the balance looks very healthy, the majority of our monies are all ring-fenced. They're all there for particular projects. So we still need some background money for things like the insurance, as Michael mentioned, and to continue things. As Michael was saying, we have actually received 21 new members so far, 20 of which are using this new membership mojo, which, and a lot of people are here tonight on the back of that. Seems to be working absolutely fine. It's really easy. You can click on the website, or every page on the website has a link. The Facebook is linked to the website where you can also join. So it seems to be doing really well. It just adds another way of paying onto the already existing BACS payment, or the good old-fashioned cash in an envelope or a cheque through our door.
We'll accept your membership.
Whatever, it just makes everything easier.
Yeah.
I just want to reiterate, if you're already a member, you don't need to fill in a form again unless there are any particular circumstances like a change of address or change of email address. You don't need to fill in the form again. So with this positive start, we will hopefully increase our membership this year. Every year we're hoping to increase it greater and greater. We need members to help facilitate all our events throughout the year. As Michael already stated, without the members, we basically have no society. So whilst our Facebook follower numbers look very healthy, 2,600 and increasing, this does not equate to actual memberships. We'd encourage everybody to pay their £5. As Michael said earlier, you can receive your voting rights, have say in prioritising the actions, and basically have a voice in what happens to be our park.
That's true.
I would encourage everyone who has not already done so to renew their membership, either with the new membership mojo, which the advantage to that is it sends you a reminder just before it's due up again next year.
That's true.
Whereas currently there's a bit of a debate over, you know, if you pay just now, they'll run from AGM to AGM, and that date can vary. It can get a bit sort of complicated. So membership mojo may be the easiest way to go, but as I say, it's only one of the options.
Can I ask something
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the website now on my phone, and I don't know where to go to. Where do I find the mojo thing?
Robert, can you maybe step in?
Or David?
Robert, step up.
Yeah, no, you should see it on every single page on
At the top,
a button
the square banner.
that says join.
Yeah.
The little kind of greyish buff coloured square at the top.
It's too reflective. That's Susan can't.
No, I'm getting no. Never mind. Don't worry. I'll
Okay,
find
well, can leave later, Susan. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you can have it later.
Yeah, so just basically, so we can continue the good work's done so far in the Venery, our regular events, and develop future activities. And just on a kind of positive note, we've actually been awarded 3 different grants this year so far. As Mike alluded to, we got money from the Wee Green grant of £1,651, which will be for a bench and willow trees, just as a sort of commemoration and a sort of momentum to, to the people who suffered during the pandemic. Again, we're going to thank the Foster Grove Trust for their £2,250 towards the Venery projects. And Glasgow City Council gave us a grant for our outdoor PA system, as Michael says, is first getting used, not for our purposes, but for the library. So it's going to a good cause.
See, it's a community resource.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all. Just like to think of something to thank all for your support and to welcome all our new members.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we move on to the next agenda item 6, which will be the election of office bearers and committee, I'd like to say that due to various reasons, there are now 3 spaces, if you like, on our committee for ordinary committee members. And I would really like it if people could step forward and help us. And one of the reasons for that is, unfortunately, due to other commitments, etc., after many years of great work for our committee, Cathy Russell is stepping down as secretary. And I'd like to thank her very much for her work for the society on this. And we've organised a wee gift, which is a tea voucher, I believe. Anyway, for you, as an appreciation for what you've done. Another clap there from Robert, even though the audio is off. Hooray for you. And I hope you continue with your commitment to the society and work with us going forward. So yeah, thanks, Kathy, basically. So we'll move on to the election officers, and I'll give you a first chance to kick out the chiefie should you wish. Yeah, yeah. I actually think we could perhaps take this electronically as a vote, because we don't exactly know who's a member, do we, and who's not. Is everyone in the meeting a member? I'll ask you to be honest. Speak now or honesty box. Okay, we can also always check records. So let's just do it now. Why hesitate? So yeah, I understand that all office bearers in the committee, including Gail, our esteemed co-convener Elizabeth, who can't be present tonight, want to restand, and we have a nominee or a willing candidate as secretary in Robert Mackay.
Well, I can confirm.
So is that true, Rob? Are you willing to step up to the plate? Great stuff. Excellent. Good to have you on board. So unless there are any real objections, we'll just take it en masse to re-elect the committee. Okay. Okay. Michael Harrigan, that's me, convener. Now I'll hold your peace. Well, not forever, actually. You're proposed and seconded. You need that.
That's a yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Cheers. Oh, hi then. Brilliant.
Hold on then. So
proposed by. Oh yeah, you're doing the minutes.
So okay. So Michael was proposed by Robert, was it?
I've Roberted, I think.
Okay. And Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Is committee allowed to vote? No.
I think it's as long as it's not for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll.
There's Elizabeth. Unless somebody else wants to step in quickly. I'll second it. So that's Elizabeth carried. Okay, stepping down. So takes on to Robert. Are you standing, Robert?
No, he's sitting at the moment.
Sitting now, but you standing, Robert, as secretary?
Yes.
Yeah. Even though mute, I'll take that. I can lip read. Okay. So who wants to propose, Robert? Thank you, Maisie. Brilliant. Seconder.
I'll second it.
Excellent. Thanks, Susan. So that's Robert on board. So that takes us to our treasurer, Miss Gail.
Unless anybody else wants to. Okay.
Okay, I'll propose.
Can you do that?
I think so. I'm not proposing myself, am I? Hang on to second for Gail. Scott, brilliant. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, excellent. And D as well. So yeah, you can that's it. Yeah, excellent. So that's us.
Ordinary members. No, it's ordinary.
Have to be from 1 to 1.
Oh no, well, David and Ben, are you both happy to
restand?
David's disappeared.
Well, I'm sure he is.
Now you have to ask anybody else.
Yeah, so does anyone want to come forward just now as a committee member?
Thank
you, David. Yes. Yeah, so you've returned. That's brilliant. Anybody else want to step up to the plate just now? Yeah, I mean, really, as I always say, if you do want to join, it's a toe in the water at first if you want to. You can just come along to committee meeting, see what you think about it, do what you can. You don't have to, put in a full commitment at the first off. Or if you just want to email me or talk to me on the phone about it, absolutely fine. So if you want to take that away as a thought and come back to us, I hope that at least 2 people do. Kathy's asking me to say that the meetings just now are offline, which is a good point to make actually, because it makes it very easy for you to attend. You just have to click on the Zoom link. You don't have to schlep off to somebody's house in the dark in the rain once it starts getting in winters. Although, I have to say, you'll get a cup of tea and a biscuit at the other end before. That's a good chat during the meeting. Well, anyway, we'll hold this space and maybe at our action days, our planting or our events, somebody come and talk to us or any of the other committee members about doing that. Because we do need committee members to take action, etc.
Michael, can I just say something?
Yes, Ben, please do.
Well, I mean, speaking as an ordinary committee member, I'd just like to reassure people it's not something that's going to greatly eat into your time if you're a normal committee member. I mean, it's something which I give as much time as I am able to. It's not as much as I'd ideally like for various reasons, but it's not something that's hugely time consuming. You know, you don't feel that you're going to be, you know, leaned upon to do more than you feel comfortable then. That really isn't a concern. So I'm just echoing what Michael said. You know, that we do, you know, we could do with some new blood. You know, we really would benefit from it. But don't feel hesitant about coming forward if you're concerned about it eating into your time. That really needn't be a concern.
Yeah, give as
Thank
much
you,
as you
Ben.
can,
Thank you, Ben.
and that'll be very appreciated.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Okay, Robert. Yeah, you
Could
want
I
to
just
say?
say, sorry.
Oh, Ada, yes, please.
I was just going to say, I mean, I would be interested, but I definitely want to maybe talk to you a bit more about it being so new
Excellent,
to
Ada.
everything.
Excellent.
But I mean, it's
That'd be
definitely something I would consider. But it's nice to hear from Ben as well about that.
Yeah. I might be right for detail, actually.
Yes, exactly. Well, you have our email. We have both things off and their own email address. So
that'd be brilliant, Ada. Thanks.
We can have
Thanks
a
for the shout out there. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Robert, you want to say something?
Yeah, just to slightly reiterate as well that I would take the view that committee members don't have to think they're going to get down there with spades every weekend and be digging like mad, digging for Britain or something silly like that. It's really, I think, it's really the kind of thought processes and input to the group, because we're actually trying to set up an action group that will actually be the diggers and the weeders, or whatever you want to call it. So they'll be there. I'll be looking for fit people to be doing that side of it. But yeah, so the committee, as Ben just said there, you know, if it's just 5 minutes you can give us, 5 minutes is great.
Yeah, and I think it's great that we're getting into a position that we can start thinking about subgroups, etc., because we're getting more members and more commitment. Yeah, what I'd like to say is an area that we'd like to build on and develop perhaps is our web presence. So if there's anybody out there who's got skills in that regard, please get in touch. You don't have to formally join the committee, but it'd be great if you could, and talk to us about that, web design, whatever you have. That'd be great to hear from you. Anybody else want to contribute? Great to hear from you. Any questions about what's been said in the meeting, etc., or anything at all, actually? Marissa, yes, please. If you can unmute. Thanks.
Hi. Sorry, my audio was cutting in out a little bit. But I thought it could be a good idea to sort of set up. So I'm in the Facebook Friends of Victoria Park page.
Yeah.
And there's some amazing photos that go up. So if we had a dedicated Instagram account or something, we can kind of maybe through that communicate with the public, in terms of even getting people to put their rubbish in the bin, just if we're promoting the wildlife and the beauty and the diversity of the park, it might be a good way to kind of reach out to the public that way.
Okay, to be honest, Instagram is not my forte, but if that was something you want to get in touch with us and take forward,
I would be happy to do that. I'm at the park with my camera any day I can. And I'd be happy.
Okay. If you want to email us at the Friends Victoria Park mailbox, I'll be right back in touch with you, actually, Marissa.
Yeah,
yeah, excellent.
Okay, sure.
Could I just make one other social media suggestion, which was just making a pinned post in a Facebook group for joining, because I don't know about other people, but I know that I didn't realise that you could join and be a member for quite a while after being in a Facebook group.
Oh, wow,
and I think because there is a lot of posts going on in the group, I didn't see it until I saw the post about the AGM. I didn't really realise it was something you could join and actually get a membership to. And so I know that you can make pinned posts at the top, and I just think that might be something that might help to make sure that everybody.
That very post is there now.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? I was just having a look and I couldn't see it.
Go and have a look. Yeah, but there's competition for that space. So.
Okay, I see.
Okay. Well, that's been very important in developing our Facebook, and thanks to him for that. Yeah, thanks to him. Yeah. No, yeah, okay. Any other contributions from our attendees? Robert, yes.
Yeah, just sorry. The question, Susan, about I don't know if you can see that.
About us. Okay.
That it's not seeing it very well, but that's the button at the top, right there, my finger.
Okay.
You see that?
So if I go to About Us, maybe that'll find it. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
To the website, there's a button on every single page. It doesn't come up very clearly there, but it says membership /donate, to friends now. So that's the process we're trying to move over towards, just to say to everybody. And I'd like to just add, if I can, for a second, that the process will be automated, so that at the end of the year, I would expect you to receive an email to prompt you to renew if you wish.
You should, yes, you should.
Yeah, rather than us coming to everybody and saying, please, could you come back to us again? You know, so it's just moving a wee bit more modern in the way we're dealing with things. Thank you.
Yeah, as Robert's pointing out there, we're sort of transitioning from membership running from AGM to AGM, which you could still do if you want to do that, to an annual renewing one, you know, as of the date when you joined in that year. I think that's probably fairest to everyone. And with the Mojo thing, that's what's going to happen. You know, you'll get sent this reminder that Robert's talked to you about. But it must be said, we will take your money and get you to join any way you wish. You know, just we will sort that bit out. You know, don't worry about that. Any other questions from people or things I want to raise or talk about? Well, it remains Marissa again. Thank you.
Sorry, I have one more.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly if anyone has the answer. Maybe David that was talking about the fern in Fossil Grove, planting the ferns.
Yeah.
So I'm sure everyone's seen how that pond sometimes can dry up to complete mud, and other times it looks like a pond that could maybe hold fish, frogs, salamanders. I was wondering if they're hoping if any of the vegetation might help maintain that pond as a more like sustainable environment, if there's been any thought or talk about that at all.
Maybe you can take that, Defo.
I'll just answer that, Marissa. Yeah, the pond is a problem in that it was relined a number of years ago, but it leaks, and so it's also the low point of the park, and the Fossil Grove building drains into it. So when it rains, it fills up, but then it drains away very quickly. And we can fill it. We have a secret tap. That's right. It's a bonus of being on the committee. You get to know where the tap is, but never.
Eternal spring.
But when it's dry, we do go and try and fill it up.
Yeah.
But the level fluctuates. What we've been trying to do is put it on a sustainable, the wrong word, but a constant flow that matches the evaporation, the amount of water being used by the greenery that's growing in it, and the leakage. So it's a balancing act. If we fill it to make it look nice and full, it covers the path, the low path around the pond. That gets covered when it's full, which means people then, to get towards the pond, people then stamp all over the ferns. So we've had real problems with trampling when the pond is high. And we've had real problems with people complaining that the frogs are dying because the pond is too low. So it's a real issue for us. And the sort of Saturday grumpy old men go out there and we play around with the tap and we fiddle around with it and try and get it right and try and keep over this period, we've had a lot of rain early on in the spring and then a very, very dry later spring. So it's been quite a balancing act for us.
Can I just say by way of an explanation, just standing in for Richard, when it was renewed, and it was only a few years back, it's a clay-based pond. Basically, it was a very dry summer when it happened. So unfortunately, the pond dried out and the new base cracked, and those cracks haven't really. Sometimes they seal, and sometimes they don't. So although it's done by a private contractor, I think the view was there's very little comeback against them. So it's a continual structural fault that would require more money to correct. I can't remember what the original cost was. Was it about 8,000, David?
It was something like that, yes. But to redo it, we'd have to take all the wildlife out of it again. So it would be.
Can I just say that it's actually a very good. I mean, as long as there's even a couple of inches of water, the newts are fine. Everything is fine. I mean, there's life in there.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need, just because it's nearly dry, that doesn't mean it's dead at all.
No.
Okay, that's an important point to make.
We do try and maintain it at the level of the lower path around the pond, so that it you can get close to it. And if it's lower than that, we then fill it. And if it's higher than that, we just have to wait for it to drain, because it does drain quite quickly.
Which can be an advantage when it's stormy weather, because otherwise it would just, because of where it is, it just flood everywhere. So, in a sense.
On the committee in February, we discussed the hiring or the buying of a pump to
we
pump
did, yeah,
out of
that's
it.
right.
Yeah, so we've had, you know, dilemmas with it this year, with excess water in February and then getting very dry into April, May. So
Well, watch this space of the pump. We maybe will need to get one. You know,
Well,
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah, we'll see.
we'll keep playing. There's enough volunteers in the committee to keep playing around with the tap, and we just hopefully get it right. But if you do see it looking ultra dry, do put something on Facebook. It might spur one of us to go and do something. Yeah.
There you go. Heads up from David there to get involved. Any other questions, contributions? Okay, well, just remains for me to say again, thanks to our outgoing Secretary Kathy, and thank you all very much for attending. And let's help make our society stronger and better going forward in the future. We're certainly very active, which is brilliant.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye now. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Susan. Thanks, Jane, for the presentations. Lovely. Well done. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Susan, and you, David, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Thank you all for your presentations, indeed.
Yes,
Actually,
indeed.
Oh, yeah. I just like you, I lost the Zooms. We'll figure out how that
I know, I don't
goes.
know exactly. Well, we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
It worked so well in rehearsal. Why is this? And then anyway.
Well, they see that in theatres, don't they?
Yeah, let's see. The rehearsal
I
goes
see
well.
this rehearsal with bad opening night.
I have heard that actually.
Nice to meet all the people I haven't seen before. Nice to meet
Yeah.
all of you.
Well, let's connect like with the flower farm and everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Brilliant.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.